Undemocratic. Jay, it's a great topic. How come you wrote this book?
Well, I'll tell you why, Pat. It's exactly because what we have been doing, you and I together at the American Center for Law and Justice for going on almost 3 decades now, has been dealing with government red tape, government bureaucracy. Look, we've experienced it. We've litigated. We've seen it up close. We've seen it personally. Unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats are really running the government. So we've created this kind of fourth branch of government that is basically taking over. And they're more powerful than the legislative branch, more powerful than the Supreme Court, frankly, more powerful than the presidency. And it's exactly as you said at the beginning of the broadcast. It's one person that becomes 2 people, then it becomes a department, then an agency. And these agencies are what are controlling the lives of the American people, and they're out of control. So what we did in the book was 2 things. One, we document through a number of the governmental agencies, IRS, EPA, Department of Justice, NLRB, Health and Human Services, the list goes on and on. We document the problems, and then we put forward the solutions, because this is something you trained us on so many years ago. You can't just say, here's the problem, good luck. You've got to offer a solution, and the solution is resist, and sometimes, as you know, that takes court action. Sometimes it's a legislative fix. Reform. You know, these agencies and these individual agents could violate civil rights of citizens and be not held accountable. If you look at the VA scandal, look at the IRS scandal, no one fired. No one terminated. No one demoted. A couple people eventually quit. That's the most you can say.
Congress is supposed to do these regulations, but it's so easy for a congressman to duck behind the EPA. Well, I don't like what they're doing, the congressman tells his voters, but it's the EPA that did it. Well, a lot of them are ducking behind these agencies, aren't they?
They are, and we can't allow the excuse any longer. So not only do you resist when the regulations are wrong, whether it's court action, whether it's changes in the law, you have to reform these agencies. Some of these agencies can be reformed. Some of them, frankly, Pat, have to be. I think the IRS, for instance, is beyond redemption at this point. I don't think they're capable of self-correcting. We now know there was just a Court of Appeals case involving our IRS case where the D.C. panel was very tough, very, very tough on the government. That's just one example. We know the IRS has colluded with the FEC. We know they've colluded with the Department of Justice. I can name every government agency. And then we've got to restore a balance to a constitutional republic. And the reason that I wrote the book and the reason we call it undemocratic is we live in a constitutional republic. That's a form of democracy, but it's a specific form of democracy. It's a constitutional republic. And what's happening right now is undemocratic. It's not what's happening in the White House or at the Supreme Court of the United States or the Capitol. And we've got offices, as you know, right across the street and right down the street from all of those. It's what's happening 4 blocks away, a mile down the road, down in Foggy Bottom. That's what's controlling Washington, D.C. And, Pat, this is something you've been talking about for decades, and we've now put the evidence out there with a solution.
The thing that I'm really concerned about is how many people are being incarcerated. And these rules, actually, these agencies are now adding criminal sanctions to their rules, which is a shocking new development, but it's loading the prisons.
It is, Pat, and this is creating not only a burdening problem on the federal government budget, but incarcerating people that didn't even have a clue that what they were alleged to have done constituted some type of crime. You even have, and we documented this in the book, these settle and sue cases where DOJ forces, people that the DOJ have a relationship with, organizations, especially in the environmental, the EPA area, a plaintiff will file a lawsuit. It will be settled the very same day the lawsuit's filed, and as part of the consent decree that the government enters into, they include all these new sanctions, which could include criminal sanctions, civil sanctions, forfeiture. All of those are agreed to by the government, an interpretation of a law to say this is now a crime. And that's all done the same day the fake lawsuit is filed. These are put-up lawsuits. They're not real. They're real in the sense that they're going to court. But this is collusion, and it's got to stop, and it's got to stop now.
Well, this book, Undemocratic, ladies and gentlemen, is something you need to read, and it'll shock you. When's it come out, Jay? Is it in the bookstores now?
Yesterday. So this is one of our first interviews on it. The book just came out yesterday. It's doing great. And, Pat, it really does document things that you've been talking about and you've been training us on for well over almost 30 years now. And we've just put it all together and said, you know, we need a cohesive, lay out the evidence, lay out the solution, and that's what we've done in Undemocratic.
Well, you're a great voice for freedom, and I appreciate you.